Okay, now we've talked about germinating some seeds. We've talked about digging the garden. We've talked about fertilizing and composting, not necessarily the same thing. And we've talked a little bit about how the garden is going just as an experiment this year. I wasn't really intending to get any crops out of it. But as you can see, even with this fairly clay soil, amending it with the fertilizer, breaking it up a little bit, has certainly helped somewhat. And next year when I actually plant it, I expect it to be a whole lot better than this. As you can obviously see, my potatoes, I didn't expect too much from them, but they're doing really well, getting lots of flowers. Not so much on this guy yet, he's still growing. This one here has got quite a few flowers on it, so I expect we'll get something this year. I've kept the two different mint separate because I don't think I'm going to leave them in here. And as you can see, I need to do some weeding here because it's getting in around my chives. But so far, actually, I'm surprised it's doing better than I expected. And the bugs are still here. The peas are doing very well. I'm very pleased with them. I don't know if you can see it from there, but we have pods. Pods coming on. I'll bring you closer here. There's still lots of flowers, but they're getting some really good. This one's starting to fill out. This one's transparent. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 peas in that pod. They all look to have 6 or 8. So I'm really happy because this is, yeah, look at some of them over there are actually getting quite full. This is great because these are the ones that are so very rare, and so I'm really pleased that I'm going to be able to get back a fresh supply of the peas for reseeding another time. As you can see, some of the plants are further developed than some of the ones right beside them. Just slightly stronger plant, and by saving the seeds from these plants, you're getting the plant and the seed from that's the strongest in your soil conditions and your climate conditions. And so over a period of time, you're just improving that seed slightly each and every time that you plant it. So at this point we're pretty much finished with what I'm going to do for gardening, certainly for this year. But it wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk a little bit about the plants themselves. Now, you've heard me mention that I take only heirloom seeds, and preferably the really old varieties where they have a much broader genetic diversity. These are the seeds that if anything ever happens in the future, whatever it might be, these are the seeds that are going to be what bring us back into the ability to grow our produce. Not only that, but when you save the seeds of an heirloom plant, the seeds reproduce true to what the original plant was, which with the new modern varieties, that's not the case. In fact, and often the case is that they don't produce at all because they've been genetically modified so that they are sterile. So you grow the plant, you get the fruit that you're supposed to, sort of, because it's genetically modified. It's probably not as nutritious and quality as it should be. And as I've said before, these companies are strictly motivated by profit. Whether the plant has the nutrition that it should have, whether it has the variety of nutrients in it that it should have, that means nothing to them. In fact, in a lot of cases, they'll actually remove some of those nutrients because in the case of wheat, for example, white flour, they remove the husk, they remove the germ. That takes out the oils because oils can go rancid and the flour won't last as long. They've taken out all the goodness. What you're getting left is just plain white flour. On top of all that, they bleach it. So if there was any hope that there was anything left in terms of nutrition, which there wouldn't be, they've certainly eliminated that slightest hope with bleaching it, which they often use a chlorine process. So you're buying a bag of wallpaper paste, I mean, really, to be honest. These are the seeds, but mosquitoes get in between my eyes and my glasses. So these are the plants and the seeds and the soil. The soil with the natural nutrients in it will have plants that have natural nutrients in it, and when you eat those plants, you get those natural nutrients that are what is actually the the value of these plants. In addition to that, as I said, the seeds will produce true to what the plant was. So when you save them, you're saving a good plant that you can use year after year after year. The other thing too is, for example, you can see on these potatoes, this plant here, right here, these were all planted at the same time. This plant right here is bigger and more robust a little bit than what some of the other ones are. It has more flowers on it, and well, and 2 or 3 of the other ones are the same. The pea plants are the same. There are some of those plants, they're taller, they're more robust, they have pods on them that are further developed along. Those are the peas, for example. I'm going to take the pods off of the 2 or 3 best, most healthy looking plants and save the seed from there. If I wanted to save a lot of seed, if people wanted seed, I'd probably plant 50 plants and take 2 or 3 pods from, say, the top 10 plants or whatever the case may be. But those are the plants that will give you the best reproduction because they started off the healthiest. Not only that, but they're growing in this soil here on my property in this climate. So the ones that are the strongest and most robust, not only are they the strongest seed, but they're the seeds that are doing the best in these conditions here. So by saving the seeds from those plants, each year I'm getting a plant that's more and more and more suitable to what I'm doing. It's not changing the variety in any way, but it is just picking the plants that are best able to adapt and to be healthy here where I am and with the soil conditions that I've got. And that's true with all of the plants. Pick the seeds from the most robust and healthiest plants, replant them the following year, and then do the same thing and do it continuously, and you'll eventually get a slightly stronger strain of whatever that plant is in your area. Okay, the last thing I want to mention here is crop rotation. And crop rotation is very important, but it's not important to just, say, take a cabbage and move it to the other side of the garden and put something like Swiss chard or something like that in its place. You want to make sure that you rotate plants by their classification. If plants are related by classification, it is still worth rotating them by putting another plant of the same type in there, but it's not as effective as if you took cabbage out and put tomatoes in, or peas, or something of a completely separate family. That's the way you really want to do that. I'm not going to go into all the details of that. There's countless books, and now the internet is just loaded with this type of information. I could spend days and hours making video documents on all of these different things and giving you lists of what works and what doesn't together. You know, it's been done before. It's easily available. You can research it. But it's something to be available that you should use, and try and keep track of what you're doing with that. I like to keep a little paper map of my garden, just generally, so I can say, well, you know, I know last year, I'd remember it anyways, but I know last year I put tomatoes there and potatoes here and so on. Next year I'll just switch them up. And I'll switch them up by category more so than just by the individual plants, which is very important. That will keep your garden as pest-free as possible. It will also keep your garden more lush because the plants draw certain nutrients. And they draw the nutrients out of that soil, but different plants require different nutrients. So if you've got the same plant in the same place year after year, you're going to deplete the soil of whatever that particular plant needs. Pretty soon the plants aren't going to be as healthy and as productive as they were when you started out prior to that a few years. So by switching plants around and doing the rotation, not only are you helping to keep the pests and so on under control, but you're also helping to balance out the soil. And of course, you're going to continue to amend that soil each year with, more manure or compost, whatever it is that you're using. Hopefully not chemical fertilizers, because that's what kills the soil, kills all the nematodes and not nematodes, but all the micronutrients and little critters that are in the soil, the earthworms. And those are what really help break down all the organic matter and make your soil strong. That's why the crops on most of our countries now, the U.S. and Canada is pretty near the same. They've been using chemical fertilizer for so many years that the soil is dead. there's nothing left in it. If you didn't put the chemicals on there, you couldn't grow anything. Even grass won't grow in some of those places. It's just drained right out and killed by the chemicals of those fertilizers, pesticides, and so on. They've killed honeybees, and don't even start me on that stuff. So I hope this has been a little bit of help, a little bit of encouragement to you. Get a garden going. It doesn't have to be huge, you know, but the flavor of the food is so much better as well. It's like raising your own chickens. When you raise your own meat birds and then you have those in the freezer and you cook one, you won't believe it's the same thing as a chicken that you would have bought from the store. They're completely different and so much better. That's about it. That's all I can say. I'm not going to take time and bore you with anything more. Have a great day, a great week. Hopefully this has encouraged you to try some of this. Even if you're in a city where you've got a small lot, you can grow something. Just give it a whirl. We'll see you all down the trail. Well, how did I do? Do you think I encouraged anybody to give this a try? Maybe to get out in some fresh air and do their own gardening with some heirloom seeds? Well, we can only hope so. Let's go. It's the end of the day.